Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. We will begin with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Bieberdorf. Maher.
Here.
Roberts. Stroman.
Here.
Pettigrew.
Here.
Sechrist. Lehman.
Here.
Ham. Evans.
Here.
Roseland.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, we will have an invocation from Pastor Ron McLaughlin, and if you're willing to rise and pray with him, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray with me. Father God, we thank you and praise you, God, first of all, for letting us live in Rapid City, South Dakota, a wonderful place, Lord. I thank you for those here that lead and serve in the way that they do. We thank you for our first responders. We pray for protection over them. God, bless this group with discernment and wisdom and direction, and we'll trust you for the results of that in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. If I could also have an adoption of the agenda. Motion by Roseland, second by Lehman to adopt the agenda. One minor item on there, just to note before we take a vote, the executive session should read, that is to consult with legal counsel about proposed and pending litigation and contractual matters. Just adding that note in there. So if that's okay with the motioner and the seconder, we could get a vote to adopt the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is adopted. And this is our first time back in this room. We apologize for any kinks. Hopefully, we're still working it out. You see the nameplates. They're not quite what they will be in the long term, but hopefully everything else will work just fine tonight. Just want to make sure I give everyone a heads up. So we are going to have a special presentation regarding the Veteran Banner Project by Bill Casper. Mr. Casper, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Solomon and council members, for giving me the time representing the Veterans Honor Banner Project. The reason we're here before you is to see if the Veterans Honor Banner Project can come to some sort of an agreement with the city, which will allow us to use more light poles so that we can continue to grow our project. The project started in 2017 by putting up 18 banners of World War II veterans on poles that the Main Street Square gave us. As the project grew over the years, we've had verbal agreements with Parks and Rec and the city engineer, traffic engineer, to allow us to use more light poles to continue the project. Last year, we used 323 light poles and put up 323 veterans, everywhere from the Civil War right down to the present conflict. With the exception of the light poles in the downtown area, which came equipped with banner hanging apparatus on them, we have purchased banner hanging apparatus to allow us to continue the process. We purchased this at our own expense. To date, we spent over $15,000 on banner apparatus to enable us to continue. So this kind of brings us up to 2024. This year, we were told to take our request for more light poles to Public Works, and they denied us the use of more poles. Specifically, we asked the poles along 5th Street from Omaha Street out to Catron Boulevard, and possibly the poles in the Fitzgerald Stadium parking lot. They gave us two reasons. Number one, banners in residential areas, and number two, light pole specifications. I visited with Vicki Fisher, and she showed me a map of 5th Street which showed that certain parts of 5th are residential, but other areas which are commercial. For example, Minnesota Street south to Catron Boulevard. However, Public Works still denied us the use of any of the poles because they said the pole manufacturing specs don't allow for anything added to a light pole. And this is an important point that I'd like to bring up a little later. We've asked to see these specs, but have never received an answer. You see our banners that are being held up. I think you've probably seen them before. One of these banners weighs less than 2 pounds, 1.9 pounds to be exact. They're 60 inches long and 30 inches wide, which equates to a surface area of 12.5 square feet. The reason we chose this size for our banners is it's the same size that the city puts up. The top of our banners are 15 feet high, and I believe a light pole is about 45 feet high, so that means that one of our banners is really at the bottom third of one of these poles. In the 5 years of hanging on these light poles, none of the poles have come down as a result of our banners being up. From what I could check with the city, there are two main reasons for poles coming down. Either somebody runs into them, or the base becomes corroded due to snow buildup containing the chemicals that are put on the streets. So this brings me back to that anything not being allowed on a light pole question. If one drives around the city at different times, for example, around the library, around the Doll, West Boulevard to Fisher Furniture, Kansas City and Quincy Street, one will see banners on light poles that don't have banner hanging apparatus built in. And as far as we know, these poles have never come down. Also, there's quite a bit of city signage on many of these poles, some of which I suspect weigh more than one of our banners. Road crossing signs, speed limit signs, intersection of roads, school zones, even including an X marks the spot sign. So my question here is, are there exceptions to this rule or not? So in conclusion, back to the beginning of my presentation, we currently have 61 new people who would like to sponsor a veteran, and we have only 28 light poles available. We feel it would be a shame to have to turn down these people who want to honor their veteran by putting them on one of our banners, to be seen by them and to be seen by their families and the public, including the many tourists that come into town. With that, I'll thank you, and I'd welcome any questions or comments. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to have something in just a moment. It looks like Mr. Roseland's actually popping in.
Thank you for your speech for us tonight. 4 years ago, I was standing out there holding a banner of my father. So I am totally in favor of what you're doing. And I appreciate if we can work together as your committee and as a city, maybe we can work something out. So I'd like to see that happen in the future. And I really thank you for what you're doing to honor our veterans that have passed before us.
Thank you.
Mr. Stroman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to echo what Mr. Roseland said. Bill, I think this is a really worthwhile project. I've got a banner for my dad, and I know that other people have banners, and everybody's real proud of them and appreciate the work that you've done. And I, too, hope that we can come to some agreement and some resolution that will be beneficial and will work for both sides.
Thank you.
And with that, if the council doesn't have any other comments, if I may, to help us, first of all, Bill, I want to thank you. Your years of service doing this has been incredible. Of course, you know I have two grandfathers who have banners themselves. Greatly appreciate that. I'm going to make a recommendation for us. My concern is how do we move forward in a sustainable way so you don't have to keep coming and asking for things. So I think you said I want to come up with some sort of agreement, and I agree. So here's what I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask for a work group to get together with some council members, you and your team.
My board?
Yep, you can have whoever you want, and some of our city staff members from our legal and public works and so on, maybe even our parks department, because I think there's some opportunities there. But that way we can set the parameters for this that both honor our veterans, which we deeply do, but also make sure that we have the welfare of the city in mind. We know that all the polls are exactly the same. I don't, there's a lot of specifications, but I think to my direction to the staff and my encouragement to the council to be involved, as well as your team, to come up with an agreement. You can have it in writing. You will know what you can and can't do, and you'll be able to ask those specific questions so that we know where it's safe, where the sign code allows, all of that stuff that, of course, we have in the community. If you would be open to that, I would like to really formally propose that work group to get this matter resolved, get it in writing to protect you in the years to come, because it's not just about this year and Fifth Street. This is about what are we going to do 10 years, 20 years from now? Because I think we all know it enriches our community. We're so grateful for it. We want to make sure we do it in a way that both honors the vets and, of course, protects the welfare of our community. We always have to balance that need in mind. If you are okay with that, I would like to do that, if that's okay.
Very definitely, very definitely.
All right. And our city staff, just so you know, I've talked to them. They do love the project. You know, they have jobs to do trying to look out for the city. Many of them have veterans as well. This is something we can all agree on. I think we can work towards this measure. So I do want to just let you know, I've talked to them, and you know, that they have the same heart as well. You know, they have tough jobs to do as you know too, and you know what that's like. So looks like we have one more comment from Bill Evans.
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's really not a comment, but I'd just like to give the Public Works and maybe Ms. Fisher a chance to explain the reasons that these were denied, because as far as I know, there's never been any opposition from anybody about the Banner project. And if there's anything you guys would like to say to maybe clear the air, I'm certainly, I think we'd all like to hear that, if you'd like to do that, either Dale or Vicky. Any explanation as to why some of these polls, the specs don't allow that? Is it?
We could do that. Just a very general overview. I don't think we have to get into every nook and cranny, but we'll allow the Public Works Director, Dale Tech, to chime in.
Thank you, Mayor. I think what Mr. Casper said about, well, Public Works doesn't have the specs on the poles, he's exactly right. Some of these poles are 30, 40 years old. We don't have the specs. They were not, one thing I can tell you is they were not designed to hang banners off of. We believe this is a great program. We'd love to see it grow, but for liability reasons, hanging a sail off the side of a pole with that additional wind load, it's not about the weight of the banner, it's about the wind load to the pole. It's a liability that the city is assuming by allowing that without a certification from the original pole manufacturer or an independent evaluation by an engineer. And there won't be an engineer on this planet that's going to go around and certify these old poles.
If I can respond to that, I've done a lot of research into the formula for figuring out the stress on a light pole. It's very complicated. It takes into consideration the weight of whatever you want to put on the pole, the height, the item is going to go up on the pole, the weight of it, the square footage and everything. And from what I can see, the complicated formulas are all based on a wind gust of 80 miles an hour, which I don't think we've had any wind gusts of 80 miles an hour. And I understand about the specs not recording, but I might bring up an example. Let's say that Company A sold some light poles to Rapid City and also sold some light poles to another city. And I might bring up St. Joseph, Michigan. St. Joseph, Michigan has a banner program similar to ours. And St. Joseph, Michigan is located right on the shore of Lake Michigan in southwestern Michigan. So I would suggest that probably the specifications for that same light pole would be different here than it would be in St. Joseph, Missouri, for example.
Yeah. We're going to let Community Development Director Vicki Fisher chime in as well to answer Mr. Evans' question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Based on your direction that you've given us today, I'm sure that we can sit down and come up with an agreement that's going to work. I would like to note, though, that from a land use perspective, I have met with Bill, and we went through what zoning districts would allow these types of signs, commercial, industrial, literally everything but residential. And even showed Bill how to read a zoning map so that we could look at certain arterial streets in the city that are partially residential and have areas of commercial as well. So I think that there is sufficient room on a lot of our arterial streets for additional signage. I think we can all work together to find a solution as indicated by the mayor.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. And I've also let our Parks Director, Jeff Beegler, wants to be in those conversations as well. And so just so you know, we'll put our A-team together to work with you and the council members as well, to make sure, you know, they're the voice of the public as well. You know, they're elected just like me to represent you all. So
Definitely.
we'll figure something out. And then I think it's important we get it in writing. Mm-hmm. That way we avoid confusion and you don't have to feel like we're against you. We're not. But you're working so hard. I know that. but we're not your wind gust. You know, we want to help you, so let's work together on
I'm
this.
getting older too, 84 and 84 and rising, so I'm getting there.
I'm as vigorous as you are when I'm 84. Thank you,
Well,
Mr. Casper.
You haven't seen me in the morning.
Same. All right, thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you.
Next, we will move on to general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I do have a number of speaker request forms. A number of these are related to the Veteran Banner Project. We do limit 10 minutes for each side of an issue, so there's quite a few of you, so either you can divide that time or have a few of you represent, just so you know. While you do that, I'll get to some of these other general public comments. We have first up Gloria Ben. Ms. Ben. And ma'am, when you get up there, you'll have 3 minutes and you'll have an indication to let you know when your time is near. Thank you.
I just wanted you guys to know that I'm one of the people on the waiting list, and I really want my dad's picture up there before he's not here anymore. So, thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Next up, Adrian Epp.
Hello. The way we zone needs to be changed. The complete separation of residential and commercial was a bad idea from the start. When I say stuff like this, you probably think of a McDonald's placed in the middle of your neighborhood, increasing traffic and making the place unpleasant. That's why I don't want to get rid of zoning entirely, but rather change it to allow for low-impact commercial within residential areas. These places wouldn't have large parking lots. In fact, I'd say no parking lots at all. These places would be for the surrounding neighborhoods. A parking lot would encourage people from outside the community to drive there, thus increasing congestion and nullifying the idea of low-impact commercial. Allowing low-impact commercial to mix with residential would maintain or improve property values because of our current zoning regulations. New suburbs today are the slums of tomorrow. You try to trap a neighborhood in amber so that it doesn't change, and yet you ensure that the change is decay. And this is why we see a ripple of decay from the center of town spreading outwards. These businesses could serve as focal points for community in neighborhoods that otherwise don't have community cohesion. That, of course, describes most neighborhoods. Most people wouldn't know their neighbors if they passed them in Walmart. I think the real tragedy of the suburbs, of modern suburbia, isn't how they are financially destructive, but rather the loss of community. These businesses, these low-impact commercial that I'm talking about, they would be like local restaurants or coffee shops, something that the people in the neighborhood could walk to and spend their time in. This would build up community in these places, make these more resilient neighborhoods, and make them more desirable, more valuable. Because otherwise, it's like I said, these neighborhoods continue to degrade because of the way we zone. And so newer places like Red Rocks in 50 years aren't going to be desirable to live at because they've fallen into disrepair. And people will have, either they won't have a choice and they keep living there, or they'll sell their homes and move to new suburbs further out, and thus perpetuating this decay as it ripples outward. We need to reinvest into our communities and not abandon them. Thank you.
Next up, we have Hans Stephenson, or Stevenson? Stephenson? I was right the first time. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'm Hans Stephenson. I'm the owner of Dakota Angler and Outfitter, a fly fishing shop here in Rapid City. And I'm also a board member of the Black Hills Fly Fishers, a nonprofit club that supports healthy streams and improving trout habitat in the Black Hills. I believe beavers are an important part of watershed health. They are keystone species that allow a healthy watershed to thrive. However, beavers do create conflict when they live in close proximity to people. This is the case right now in Rapid Creek in town. Beavers are taking a toll on large trees along the creek. Large trees are important for shading the stream and keeping it cool. Cold water is a must for trout. I am here to ask the city to take steps to protect these trees. I support mitigating tree damage by using wire enclosures or painting trees with a sand paint mixture. The sand paint mixture has proven effective in other parts of the country. This may be an effective way to protect more trees with less time and expense. More information on mitigation strategies can be found at www.beaverinstitute.org. Many of the mitigation efforts could be done with the help of volunteers. I know employees of our shop and members of the Black Hills Fly Fishers who would be happy to volunteer. I also support live trapping beaver and relocating them to parts of the Black Hills where they are much needed. Lastly, I would encourage everyone to read the book Eager by Ben Goldfarb because it illuminates how important beavers are to watershed health, and it also explores solutions to living alongside these important creatures. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Next up, Bill Young.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I'm on a similar theme with Hans, speaking for the Black Hills Fly Fishers as well as myself. Fly fishers know our creek better than any other user group. We're on it every day. There are fly fishers out in Rapid Creek. In the last 12 months, not just the fly fishers, but volunteers have taken more than 300 bags of garbage out of our waterway here in Rapid City. We've taken shopping carts, bicycles, and my new litmus test on how my day is going, I found a walker that somebody had left in the river. Anytime your walker's not in the river, you're having a pretty good day. We've pulled very sick and had to call dispatch for people who were in the water who were dying, and actually also for people who were deceased along the Greenway. We know the watershed. We need to protect it, and as Hans mentioned, beavers are incredibly valuable. We don't need to take them out completely of our watershed, but we do need to protect some of those legacy trees. I've got a few beaver facts I'd like to share with you. Hans mentioned some. Beaver dams raise the groundwater levels and slow flows, creating riparian areas that support habitat, not just for trout, but for all the other species we have in the area. Studies suggest they reduce catastrophic wildfire, which is something that we're very interested in Rapid City. Obviously, they increase fish habitat, pools, spawning ground, and regulate water temperature. Beavers can delay upstream flows due to increased storage downstream. We can increase the water storage in Pactola and then use that water throughout the year to maintain adequate flows in the river. In essence, we'll have better water quality, better water quantity, and better recreation along the creek. We've talked about some solution. Hans mentioned wrapping trees, which has proven to be very effective, as is that paint mixture. You can wrap it, you can paint it. You can also do other things to help stream habitat, such as bank erosion, using post-assisted log structures, which we're willing to talk about. And we're also willing to bring to the city a proposal. If you can help with the materials, we'll find the labor. We'll get those trees painted, we'll get those trees wrapped. This community can make it happen. We've seen us come together before. Let's protect our waterway. One last fun fact. The city of Milwaukee reintroduced beavers into their watershed. Much bigger city, much bigger water. They saved $4 billion in water by allowing beavers back into their ecosystem. Thank you all for the work you do.
Thank you. Next up, we're beginning the Veteran Honor Banner Project portion of the public comments. And next I have Patty Plouffe, if you'd like to make any comments, ma'am.
I'm reading a letter on behalf of Debbie Burton, Colonel in the U.S. Air Force, retired. Dear Mayor Solomon, I recently learned that the City Public Works Department had rejected requests from the Honor Banner Program to obtain access to additional light poles in the city for new veterans banners. As a professional historian, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of honoring our past as we seek to inspire a new generation to be willing to make sacrifices for the future. I have marveled at the quality of the Honor banners for years and greatly appreciated seeing them around the city. I was so impressed with them that a few months ago, I ordered a banner to be made in honor of my 89-year-old mother, a Rapid City resident who served in the Air Force in the mid-1950s. Now I learn that her banner may not be able to be hung because the city is declining to make additional light poles available for the project. I have no background on the issue the city has with the request, but understand it will be discussed at an upcoming meeting. I hope you will consider encouraging the City Council and Public Works Department to continue supporting this worthy project honoring our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think everybody knows kind of where we're going, next steps from here. So if you have anything new to add, that would be great. Next up, we have Wes Shelton. Wes Shelton.
Thank you, Mayor and staff.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Deborah Chancellor.
Good evening. I am Deborah Chuka Chancellor. I'm representing the family of Staff Sergeant William Chuka. That is my dad. He was an infantryman in World War II. During the entire duration of World War II, he never said, "That's enough light poles, that's enough banners," or "That's just plain enough." No, what he did was he was in MacArthur's Cartwheel. He left for the Pacific. The first place he was sent to was the Ellis Islands. Then he was sent on to Guadalcanal, then on to New Britain, where he turned 21, then on to the Palau Island, then on to Luzon, then on to Panay, and then on to Negros. And miraculously, he was allowed to come back home to South Dakota only after the Japanese surrendered. So today, my dad is buried here at Mount Calvary Cemetery. He won't know if he will get a banner or not, but we're gonna know. His grandchildren here in Rapid City, his great-grandchildren, and his great-great-grandchildren will know that this city honors its veterans on more than just one day a year. But because of him, my brother, who's sitting here tonight, and myself and my grandson are all veterans. And we're thinking about the future. Any young person driving through Rapid City, seeing these banners, or walking down the street and seeing these banners, just might be inspired to join the military. And as you may know, our military forces are all having trouble meeting their recruitment goals. Why do you think that is? Because it's hard. And there's a lot of sacrifices that come with it. Now, my younger brother, he was here and we were talking about this, he just wanted to know, what does Rapid City think, that we just have too many heroes? We can't honor them all? We're limited by that? So in conclusion, our family is asking you to just thank you for working with this project, and our dad is one of the people who is waiting for his banner to be hung up, and we unanimously hope that you will continue working with the Honor Banner Project, because our family thanks you. And thank you for listening.
Well, and thank you for your service and
You're
for your
welcome.
family as well.
Thank you.
Next up, Brian Schnell.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Brian Schnell. I'm a lifelong resident of Rapid City and a small business owner here in Rapid. My remarks were prepared before your comments here this evening, and I give you accolades for taking the right approach to solve this problem. I'd like to go ahead and just speak for a couple minutes, if I could, explain why the Veterans Banner Project is important to my family. And Rapid City, as we all know, is a really great place to live. I thank the council members for implementing policies that generally keep it that way, and I hope you continue to do that. Without marginalizing any other group, I think veterans ascend to a higher plane than other groups. I'm not aware of any other group that has offered the sacrifices they make. I think you all seem to, those of you that spoke, understand that, but I think it's important that the public hears that and that's reiterated to them. Now, that may not be the way the civil or municipal codes look at it, legal precedent, but it's the way veterans should be viewed, in my opinion. These banners pay tribute to roughly 1% of our population, people who, at one point in their life, wrote a blank check to the USA for an amount up to and including their life in order to defend our country. Now, my dad's currently recognized on a banner as a World War II and Korea vet. I'm a second-generation veteran, joined after graduation from Stevens High School. Our 3 sons did the same, with them cumulatively serving 13 deployments, combat deployments between 2010 and 2019, all on hostile locations. Now, I'm not interested in having my image placed on a banner, but we would like the opportunity to have our 3 sons, all Rapid City boys / men, to be recognized at some point. And I acknowledge and understand, give credence to staff positions. I'm not yet as informed as I want to be on the staff position on this issue. I've worked with the city staff for many years through youth sports programs and more recently with Dale Tech and Jeff Beegler and Scott Anderson and their staffs to reach working agreements in other areas. And those experiences have left me considerable praise and high respect for those people. I believe there's likely a path forward here also in this area. I also have great respect for my 8th grade life science teacher, Bill Casper, who started this effort. He made great impact upon my life as a young boy who didn't have a living father. His leadership on us continues to positively impact me 50 years later. So surely with the strong leadership the City Council has previously demonstrated in maintaining the values of our community, along with the strong community support from Rapid City citizens for the Veterans Banner Project thus far, we can find a positive path forward. I'm willing to do anything I can to help make that happen. I'm not a member of the board of the group. I'm just like, they let me clean some banners one time and sweep up some garbage when they were done, so that's my role. But the vets here in Rapid that have made this sacrifice, including kids that were my son's age, like Jake Hill, who lost a leg, or Jason Kleberad, who gave the ultimate price. Right now, I'm not sure a lot of our culture recognizes the importance of that level of sacrifice. So we should find a way to honor those who serve so the rest of us can continue to enjoy the freedoms we take for granted, like the opportunity to stand here tonight and speak to you. So thank you for this platform to express my support for this very worthy project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schnell. Next up, we have Margie Rosario.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the council. I'm here also as one of the people who has a father that we would like to honor, and I also have 3 or 4 other relatives that we would like to do. But the main reason I came to talk, after you graciously started this committee, which I'm very hopeful will find a resolution quickly, is I wanted to very personally thank the mayor and Bill Evans for helping me, and to let you know that the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution has accepted our recommendation, and Bill Casper will be receiving the highest honor the DAR offers, the Medal of Honor, in April.
That is wonderful news. Thank you, Ms. Rosario, for your efforts on that. Mr. Evans as well for getting me in contact with her. I'm glad we can get that done. It's very well deserved, Mr. Casper. We'll continue on with Mr. Kent Haig.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just joined the committee a little over a month ago and was asked and honored. I thought the program has always been a tremendous asset to this community, and what a wonderful adornment to our downtown area and every place else those banners hang. I was part of the banner cleaning committee a couple, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Councilman Roseland, I cleaned your dad's banner. And what's struck me was that as you're watching these banners, you get up close and personal with their eyes, their face. tell you what, it's powerful. And these people had families, kids. They're laying it on the line. And it struck me. I want to applaud this mayor. Thank you for your proactive efforts, and the city council. Everybody's on the right side of this issue, the correct side of this issue. It's not a political issue. It's about honoring those who have preserved this country and our freedoms, plain and simple. It's an asset to everything. Now, also as a former assistant city attorney and know that many of the fine people in engineering and so forth, yeah, we have considerations as a city for safety and so forth, making sure these poles can handle it. What we are endeavoring to do is to look at the manufacturers, whether it's Valmont or Milliburn or so forth, and get the model numbers and ask the manufacturers themselves to simply acknowledge, okay, here's the wind load it can handle, here's the stress it can handle, and if it can't handle it, that's an easy answer. There's nothing mysterious here of what might happen, or yes, it's old, so forth and so on. But I think that's one way to approach this. And I do have, because people have taken a lot of concern and time and effort to put in, I'm also charged with reading a letter from Carol Engel on behalf of the Earl Fisher family. My dad, Earl Fisher, served in the United States Navy in World War II from 1943 to 1946. Born and raised in and around Rapid City, he was very proud of his service to protect the United States and South Dakota. Earl especially enjoyed the honor flight to Washington, D.C. in 2009. Shaking Governor Round's hand was a highlight. The reception following their return was attended by hundreds of supporters. Earl was awarded Veteran of the Month in May 2018 by Mayor Steve Allender. When the opportunity came up to participate in the Veterans Honor Banner Project, Earl quickly got on board. Not only did he purchase his own banner every year, but also sponsored a veteran who had fallen on hard times. Earl had his picture taken under his banner and enjoyed telling stories. After his passing in 2019, our family continues to support this great and noble cause, not only for our dad, but for all veterans. As a guide to a local tourist attraction, I have guests comment daily about the banners in Rapid City, how they go hand in hand with the president's statues, and what a tribute it is for Rapid City to honor our veterans. More space to display banners is definitely needed as a way to continually honor and remind us all of their service and sacrifice. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Haig. Next up, we will have Michelle Merchant. Okay. Good. You took back that minute that Mr. Haig stole from his time. I didn't send the police chief after you, though. You're all right. Mary V. Nauer? Did I pronounce your name correctly, ma'am?
You got it. Right on.
Oh, right on. About time.
I just want to thank everybody. I always enjoyed my employees being dedicated like you are. I appreciate you since you are my employees, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, I appreciate you so much. And I'm almost 90, so I've seen some of these come and go. I've lost many during World War II. Uncle on Iwo Jima. I'm okay. Hey, I can do this. But anyway, a husband, 20 years he gave, and he's gone. My son, retired chaplain, and my grandson there now. I helped. I worked 38 years at Ellsworth. I helped a lot of young people get through and go into professional officers, whatever. I don't have that same feeling anymore because of what's happening. Thank God we have what we have here. Privileged to say and honor, lest we forget price paid.
Amen. Thank you, ma'am. Next up, Dennis Wagner.
Mayor and council, It's my pleasure to read this letter from a lady by the name of Ruth Ann Britton. Rapid City Council, on behalf of my husband Eugene M. Britton, gone, I urge you not to discontinue the poles for banners of our military soldiers. This is such an honorable, welcome sight to see. To honor these military soldiers, show respect for those who have served our nation. Families, friends, and tourists see this awesome sight. Gene was born here, went to school here, raised a family, and he owned a small business, Gene's Carpentry. Rapid City is the president's town with all the statues of presidents past and present. Don't you think the soldiers go right along with this? Again, please find a way to continue to honor these soldiers. Thank you, Ruth Ann Britton, spouse of Eugene Britton, veteran.
Thank you, sir. Next, Don Stover.
I hope you're not getting tired of these letters. We're touched by the words that these people have sent to us in support of this program. I have a letter here from Dana Kemmering Larson and Jenna Kemmering Garrettson, both of Lee Summit, Missouri. Dear City Council, my sister and I learned of this wonderful project in 2020 and were so impressed and delighted with the concept that we ordered a banner for our dad immediately. We were and are so proud of Rapid City to back this program. We were born and raised in Rapid City and come back at least once a year. It will always be home. We have had 2 high school reunions and 1 family reunion in Rapid since the banner program began. These are people who come from all over the country. Everyone was so impressed with the method of honoring our veterans, and several were going back to their homes and approached their local governments to start the program of their own. It is our understanding that the backlash is twofold: no banners in residential neighborhoods and the possibility of a banner damaging a light pole. Putting ourselves in a residential neighborhood, I personally can't imagine having an objection to these very tasteful banners showing homage to a veteran being on my street. However, I'm sure there are some who would object. As for the damage to the poles, have any poles fallen down because of the banners? Every city has banners of some kind promoting their downtown. Festivals, seasons of the year, hundreds of purposes. I've never heard of a single banner causing damage to a light pole, let alone causing it to fall. We hope you see fit to allow this program to continue. It's such a tribute to Rapid City and to those who have served this country. We promote our friends to visit Rapid and the Black Hills and have heard such positive feedback about the city, the area, and the banner project. We look forward to coming home this fall. We enjoy driving around Rapid, seeing the growth and changes. The first thing we do is visit our dad's banner, and we'd like to be able to do that for many years to come. Thank you for your consideration. And I too thank you very much, Mayor, especially for bringing the idea forward to put this committee together in hopes of being able to come to a resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, Brent Cogswell.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm here to read a letter from Mr. Douglas D. Harris, who is the commander of American Legion Post 22. The subject is support for Veterans Honor Banner Project. As a nonprofit veterans organization located in the city of Rapid City for over 100 years, Post 22 has endeavored to be an integral part of the city's success. Many of our members have either worked for the city or been members of the city leadership. We're very proud of our history and continue to do our part to make Rapid City a place where veterans want to live and retire. One of our most visible attempts to support the community and its youth is through sponsorship and financial support for Post 22 baseball. We've been partnering with the city for decades to build and maintain 2 stadiums, Floyd Fitzgerald Stadium. During that time, the leadership of Post 22 baseball has faithfully honored their veteran heroes throughout the season and especially during the annual Firecracker Tournament. Recently, the Veterans Honor Banner Project, whose mission is to, quote, place banners honoring veterans, either living or dead, who have served in any branch of the United States Armed Forces in any conflict, unquote, requested the expanded use of light poles to display their banners. Those banners, excuse me. Because of this long history of mutual support between veterans and youth baseball, we at Post 22 believe that a perfect location for additional honor banners would be in the parking lot adjacent to the Floyd Fitzgerald Stadium. Therefore, we humbly request the City Council take under consideration and approve the placement of these banners in the city-owned parking lot. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you. Vicky Rossander, did I pronounce that correctly? All right.
I think my concern's been addressed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And final speaker request forms from Eric Brandenburg.
Thank you, Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, the Attorney's Office, Public Works, Community Development, distinguished guests, good evening. My name is Eric Brandenburg, and I am here on behalf of the Honor Banner Project to recognize our veterans in the greater Rapid City area. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about new potential sponsors, of which I am one, for veterans banners on Rapid City light poles. I'm a graduate of Aberdeen Central High School. After college, I served in the United States Navy for 22 years in various contingency operations, the Gulf War, and with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. In the wake of my Navy service, I represented our country as a security sector advisor with the United Nations for 17 years, serving in overseas in Kosovo, Timor-Leste, Somalia, and Libya. I settled in Rapid City 2 years ago. Why? For me, Rapid City has developed into an ideal community for its citizens, not just in South Dakota, but across the country, thanks to you. Personally, I support our veterans through volunteer work at the VFW, and I support our community by substitute teaching at St. Thomas More, Stevens, and Central High Schools. I find these students so important as the future leaders of our community, our state, and our nation. Many of these students will serve in the military. Our veterans protect our freedom, provide us with a way to learn about our history and the world around us, and risk their lives for people they have never met. World events over the last several years have led to a whole new generation of veterans who will need our assistance and recognition for years to come and honoring their service. I want to highlight as well the importance of Ellsworth Air Force Base to this community, and it serves to be a flagship into the future with the B-1 bomber and the B-21 program coming online soon. Also, our large National Guard facility, the history of Fort Meade, and our National Cemetery. We are a military community and need to continue honoring that history. Lastly, I understand that space is at a premium. I would greatly appreciate on behalf of our sponsors to place more veterans or banners on light poles in the cities. Please further honor those who have served our nation and those who have paid the ultimate price and sacrifice for our freedoms. I welcome any questions you may have. Thank you, and God bless you and the citizens of our community.
And thank you for your service. And that takes us to the end of the public comment period. Thank you, folks, for being engaged. Rest assured, we're all on the same side here. We want what's best for Rapid City. We'll be in touch. Thank you. All right. Next up, we'll move to non-public hearing items 2 through 33, and we will open public comment for items 2 through 29. I do not have any speaker request forms for those items, so we will close public comment and move on to consent items 2 through 29. Would the council wish to remove any items for separate consideration? Lance Lehman.
Item 22, Mayor.
Item 22. Any other items to pull? With that, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Seacrest, second by Maher to approve. All in favor? With the exception of 22. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 22, approve resolution 2024-001, a resolution levying assessment for abatement of nuisances. And looks like we're going to chime into the finance director. Is that correct?
That's correct. I pulled it at Mr. Ainsley's behalf.
All right. Director Ainsley, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and council member. We would just ask that when you are approving this resolution that you would remove 2805 Cactus Drive. That amount has been paid in the time between legal and finance and today, and so we would just ask that you would approve the resolution with that being removed.
Okay, we got a motion by Lehman and a second by Stroman to approve with the in removing 2805 Cactus Drive. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the end of the consent items. We will now move on to non-consent items, items 30 through 33, and open public comment for items 30 through 33. I do not have any public speaking request forms, so we will close public comment for those items and move on to item 30. Second reading of ordinance number 6599, an ordinance to revise the renewal date of sewer water and trenching licenses by amending section 13.24.040.b of the Rapid City Municipal Code.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Stroman, second by Roseland to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 31, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6603, an ordinance regarding supplemental appropriation number 2 for 2024.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Stroman, second by Evans to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 32, approve request for Corey Weisbeck for a variance to waive the requirement to install sidewalk at 1450 Concourse Drive in Rapid City per City Ordinance 12.08.060. And I have Kevin Maher in the queue. Councilor Maher, you have the floor.
Thank you. The applicant has acknowledged the ordinance and would like to withdraw this variance request.
Okay.
So if I make a motion, we remove this item 32.
We got a motion by Maher, second by Lehman to withdraw item 32 or withdraw the request. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 33, a request by TUI Design Group for Kent Hague for a preliminary subdivision plan for Lot 1 and 2 of Block 2 of Moon Meadows Park subdivision, generally described as being located southeast of Highway 16 and Catron Boulevard intersection. The recommendations to approve with stipulations. Motion by Lehman and second by Roseland to approve with stipulations. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to public hearing items. Item 34. We will open public hearing items for item 34. I do not have any speaker request forms, so we will close the public hearing for item 34 and move on to consent public hearing item 34. Entertain a motion. Motion by Roseland, second by Seacrest to approve item 34. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the end of the consent public hearing calendar. And we are now look for a motion to enter to executive session. Motion by Lehman. Second by Seacrest. All in favor? All right, we're in executive session. We'll be right over here in the Circle of Friends room.
What happens if we don't move to, can we just not go in?
Probably could. Of course. energy at some point. Do we have a motion to exit out of executive session?
So moved.
And a motion by Stroman, second by Evans, to come out of executive session. Now we will move on to the bill list. And for that, we will go to Finance Director Daniel Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The total bills for tonight are $10,839,629.57.
Motion to approve item 35. Motion by Lehman, second by Roseland. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Motion by Stroman. Second by Lehman. To adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're adjourned, everyone.